Welcome to week 7, Coleman certified SBA 7A underwriting hours. Good news, Michael is here this week for those of you who were here for last week's poll fiasco. So he redeemed himself. We'll see, fingers crossed. Let's go with the polls for this week. Let's see what happens. And the answer is, oh, we got the right polls. Okay, we're talking about late fee payments. Can we collect a 5% late payment fee on an SBA 7A loan if it's 10 days late, 30 days late, or you can't collect the fee at all? What do you guys think? $10 days late. 10 days late. Yes, you can collect. You know what? If you said 30 days, you're correct. That's not wrong. That's not wrong, but you can collect it at 10 days. So I'd collect it at 10 days. And from a management perspective, I would enforce that. I wouldn't, when you have a borrower who's suffering from cash flow and there's NSF charges and there's late payments, telephones threatening to be turned off, iPhones threatening to be turned off, I would enforce, I would make it a priority that they want to pay you. So I would make it very clear. And I would have someone on the phone and say, hey, Jim, you owe me 5%. Franklin Brothers appraisal comes in at 92% of the purchase price. Now, I believe, gentlemen, we can choose more than one?
Yeah, yes.
If you want to select all of them or one, what's the best answer? What do you think? Very good. There's no unilateral matrix. You can't do that. Number 2 is correct. You may close the loan with a memo file explaining why you have to do it. GP lenders, no. If it's under 90%, you have to get SBA's approval. But over 90%, you can do it. You can do it. Purchase price must be reduced by 8%. No, we don't have to do that. The takeaway on the appraisal is it's a 25-year loan. As long as it comes in for 90%, you can approve it, but you have to explain why you're going to do it. As I said in the lecture, hey, it's a 25-year loan. Collateral's not repaying my loan. Cash flow's repaying my loan. It's perfectly permissible, and that's fine. And you can say we're comfortable with the area, and we don't believe values are going to decrease. I think that's legitimate as well. Next poll question. The maximum rate on the SBA 7A loan is prime plus 275. True or false? Tricky. All the loans that you are dealing with, that is true. However, for those smaller microloans, we can go up to 475. Some instances, I think, less than 25,000. I don't have it in front of me, but it's at least 475. And those are 7A loans. So that's sort of a trick question. I understand why you answered true, because that is the world that you are in. But just understand where we're dealing with loans less than 50,000, those microloans, you can go higher. You can go higher. And SBA does that to incentivize the lender to make the smaller loans. That is a big push from SBA. And the last question on valuation, we're going to have a hotel loan. What do I need? Do I need a real estate appraisal? Do I need a business valuation, or do I need both? What is it that I need to document the value of that asset? If you answered real estate appraisal and business valuation, you would have been correct up to about 1.5 years ago. In the new SOP, they changed it. If it was under 5010G, you would have been right. Under 5010H, you don't need it. Now, all you need is a real estate appraisal. You can choose to get that business valuation because you can always go above and beyond SBA's minimum requirements. So you can choose to do that if you want to have a better understanding of that property, but you don't need to strictly for SBA. So gave you a little change-ups on that, and that's where you are. Week 7, I hope you liked what we did. If you had a chance to view the videos, that's fine, but we brought in some experts to help break it up. Very knowledgeable. And this is weed stuff. Look, this is a 7A underwriting course, so I'm talking about things that are important for 7A. When we talk about insurance, I could spend 10 weeks on insurance. I wouldn't want to, and I would hope you wouldn't have to sit through it. But if you want to get into the nuances and the weeds, that's fine. All I'm trying to do on these specialty items is say, this is what 7A, this is what is important for 7A, and highlight those and let you make the decision. Real estate appraisals, I certainly am not going to go through that alphabet soup of who needs what. That is important. I think that's more important from management in terms of we have the right appraisers, and that's fine. If I'm an underwriter and I have someone who that they say that this is represented and someone in your bank has signed off on that, I don't need to go back and do that. I'm going to rely on that representation unless the hairs in the back of my neck, something doesn't seem right. But I don't think you need to go back and review an individual appraiser's files, just as you don't need to go back and get that liability insurance on the law firm that you are dealing with. People in the bank need to do that. I don't believe that's an underwriter function. And gave you a lot of SOP readings. Very simple. In insurance, I make the point, life insurance is cheap. Use that in your toolbox. And the only things, and I don't think you need to become an expert in that, but and that's why I have the homework assignment. But what do you want in insurance? And I was very specific in terms of give me, specifically life insurance. Address that. What do you want? Do you want John Wong to have a policy or not? What about Michael Franklin? Do we need to have him do it when there's a brother and we have a third generation? I want you to wrestle with that. Truly, no wrong answers. There's better answers. Your job is to mitigate the risk to your institution and to the SBA, but it's your call. It's your call. I will tell you a life insurance policy for John Wong is, and I'm assuming in the case he's late 20s, early 30s, is going to be a lot cheaper for $150,000 than a Michael Franklin. And you could start sketching those out. I would encourage you, just as I would encourage you to make relationships with experts in the environmental and appraisal field, to do the same thing with the insurance agent. I plug Mass Mutual. They're all over the country. You pick up the phone, talk to the agent. How much is $300,000 for a 35-year-old woman? And they'll say X amount of dollars. Just say, I need a ballpark just for my cash flow, and that helps you make the decision. So I let you wrestle with that. Again, the homework is a suggested assignment. It's not mandatory, especially if you're watching this online. You get to it as is. Let's talk about week 8. Oh, questions. I am getting ready to do a deal with my borrower. Is purchasing 100% of a moving company. He owns 10% of a machine shop. They have no connection. I would assume that the machine shop would not be an affiliate or passive company and would not have to get financials or info on the machine shop. You are correct. However, you have the right to ask for that. If he owns 10% of the machine shop, the question is a passive, first of all, is passive or active? If he's passive, he's just receiving a monthly check. No, it's not an affiliate. But I want to know the implications of cash flow. So I'm going to go to the personal tax returns and see where the cash flow is. There's two things on this, Paul. I want to know, A, am I writing a check out of my borrower to support that operation, and am I paying rent, or is the money coming in? So that's the first question to answer. And the second one is he running that machine shop? And he's making financial decisions, and he's going to own the moving company, and yeah, it's an affiliate. If he's simply passive, no. And that's your call. And document it. Say, hey, this is my opinion. Because if it blows up and we find out that the machine shop is sucking money out of that moving company, then by definition you don't have a guarantee because you have an affiliation and you didn't get that, so it's ineligible. Okay? Question number 2. this is what I talked about in terms of having an expert. And someone said, hey, I'm confused. I got this, and the CD says they want it. They don't need a phase one. I don't believe it. And what I did is I called in my lifeline. I said, Gary, what? And this is where you build your network of experts. And Gary gave the answer, which is appropriate. He didn't assess. Go back to that list. If it's on that list, you need a phase one. But again, what the CDC is doing here is what? If it's not on the list, they want a phase one. They can choose to do that. There may have been something in the property that they said, I'm not comfortable. In the videos, I gave the example of rusty drums with some fluid floating under the earth. Yeah, I think I want to know what's going on with that. So in this situation, the loan officer may be right. The CDC is being a little conservative, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. And Gary sheds a little clarity on what to do. But in the response to this, if the CDC wants a phase one, you got to get a phase one. Okay, next. Week 8. Week 8 is fun. First of all, this is how I want you to approach it. I have a ton of reading. And again, I'm going to be focusing on these specialty things for SBA that I could spend a lot of time on. What I'm going to do, for example, you could spend hours on assignment of lease and landlord's waiver. I've given you a backup reading. Listen to the videos first. What's important for SBA? If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then certainly go to the backup reading. I mean, there's got to be over 100 pages there, and I don't expect you to digest it all at once. But if there's something you're unfamiliar with, and what I would recommend is maybe we don't need to become an expert in business acquisition, but when that comes across my desk, then go back and pull the reading material for that. Rewatch the video. I would watch the videos because what I'm going to be focusing on is what's important. What are the big things you need on 7A versus conventional? That's the focus of the videos. Equity injection is all SBA focused. Franchise lending, what's important about franchise lending? And again, we're not going to go through, I would love to spend a course on franchise lending. You know, I got 10 minutes. So the reading materials are a lot of backup to help you do that. I'm not going to give you a homework assignment because there's a lot of work in this and there's a lot of stuff to cover. But take your time, ask the questions, and my goal after the end of week 8 is for you, when someone says construction loan, you go, oh, okay, SBA requires, I need monitoring over 10,000. I got to get a special form which the closer should know about. And SBA is concerned, has a little bit higher concern than perhaps a conventional in terms of monitoring and in terms of contracts and specialty alphabet codes for that contractor. So there's a little bit higher level of stuff to do in SBA than a conventional loan. And that's okay. That's what we want to do on that. Well, very good. Last thing I want to do is I wrote an article. If you're not part of the Coleman Small Business group, loan group, and LinkedIn, please sign on and join. I'm trying to break things up and do specialty stuff in that LinkedIn group. Interesting discussion on SBA, rumors about that they want to, as 7A loans are sold to the secondary market, we split over 110. Well, there's a movement about that. They want to lower that to 108 or 106, which is problematic if you start spreading that out on how much your bank will lose. So I put little discussions in there. But this is sports related. For those of you on the West Coast, this is big news for us. It's in my hometown. I've shopped there for 30 years. I've bought, and as I say in my article, I've dropped thousands of dollars in sports chalet. But I started thinking about why did they fail? And it's great in terms of this class and specifically this week. And so I say, hey, they forgot, they did not adapt to the internet. They forgot their unique selling proposition. They lost their soul. They were experts. You went there, they hired fly fishermen. They hired snowboarders. They hired surfers. They hired dudes who knew all this stuff. And if I, back in the day before the internet, I ran marathons and did a lot of camping and backpacking. If I wanted to know about a stove, I talked to the guy who spent 2 weeks on the Sierra, up in the Sierras doing it. So they lost that. They became a generic retailer. So the takeaway is when you're talking about retail financing, answer the question, why are customers going to go into that shop as opposed to Amazon? Number 2, be skeptical of the pitch that all debt can be refinanced at a lower rate, and then magically the borrower will become an expert operator. Those cross your desk all the time, and the BDO says, hey, if we can bundle these 7 loans together, we'll save them $1,000, $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month. Things are going to be beautiful. Well, no. Sports Chalet hasn't made a profit in years, I think, ever since the recession. All they did is churn debt packages. Be careful of that. Don't buy that. And finally, I write about how they lost their way, how the owner got away from managing the core source of cash flow and became obsessed becoming a real estate mogul and buying up all the houses and all the property around the store to build this great real estate development because he was convinced he was going to make millions in real estate. $60 million he dumped into this. And it came online in 2008. And I don't have to tell you what happened to that. Anyway, shout outs. Great. Alexandra, Amy, Andrea, Anita, Ashley, Bill, Brent, Brian, Corey, David, Debbie, Dennis, Devin, Flora, Heather, Paul, Sarah, Tiffany, and I think we can give a nod to Thomas and Lucas and Ben and Amanda. You're all doing great. You're staying up on it. I appreciate the comments, and I love the questions. And we got 3 weeks left? Oh, and you're going to love the last 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks are going to be fun. Week 8, I apologize. It's tedious, but you got to know this stuff. It's not fun. I'm trying to make it a little bit fun for you. But week 9 and 10, we wrap up the course. We spend week 9 all on Grays, and we spend week 10 all on Franklin Brothers, and we wrap it up, and we know what we're going to do, and we feel comfortable, and we sign off on the loan, and we've created an asset for the bank, jobs for Main Street, and help someone achieve the American dream. Talk to you next week.